Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this session on SAGE research methods. My name is Emily Smith. I am a senior engagement librarian with SAGE. I am a librarian. I've worked in libraries my entire career, and I joined SAGE about 5 years ago in our engagement team. So we are a team of librarians and of faculty engagement partners, and we're really here to support librarians, faculty and instructors, and researchers with understanding and using SAGE learning resources. So I'm going to be presenting the training today, presenting the session today, but I do want to give an opportunity for my colleague Lee to introduce herself. We are partners on the engagement team, and she is here to support. So Lee, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. And thank you for having us today. My name is Lee Sutherland, and I am the Senior Engagement Faculty Partner. As Emily said, we partner together and specifically support The Ohio State University with all of the resources that you have from SAGE Learning Resources. I'm going to be monitoring the chat today, so if you have any additional questions that you would like to pose in the chat, I will monitor those and we will address them at the end. But thank you for having us. And Emily, I'll let you get started.
Great. Thanks, Lee. All right, so I do have just a couple of slides here before we get started. I wanted to start with an objective slide just to give you a sense of what we are going to be covering today in this session. We're going to begin with a little interactive element where I'm just going to ask you to kind of think about some of the challenges that you might be encountering or that you have encountered or that you anticipate encountering as you're going through the research process. So just kind of an idea to get us warmed up and thinking about, what some of our challenges might be when we are engaged in research. We're going to talk about how to get to the platform that we're going to be spending time in today. We're going to show you how to get to this platform through the library. We're going to look at some content within SAGE research methods that is available at your institution. The great news is that you have access to everything across the entire database. The entire portfolio is available to all of you at Ohio State. We are going to then look at some research tools. So these are really great tools within the platform that will really help you navigate the platform, will help you find and use content. We are going to talk briefly about how to create a profile in SAGE research methods. And then we're going to finish today by looking at another resource called SAGE Research Methods Community. With that said, we will leave some time for questions at the end as well. So it looks like I already see the Q&A starting, which is great. Please feel free to put questions in the chat and we will address them at the end of the session. So for anyone who may not be familiar with SAGE research methods, this is the resource that we're going to be talking about today. SAGE research methods is a database for researchers. It's really intended for anyone who is engaged in the research process, whether you are a beginning researcher, an advanced researcher, whether you are going through the research process yourself or you are instructing on or advising on the research process. This is a database of content to support you. So it focuses on the research process and it looks at the methods that researchers use to arrive at a final product of research. So it's not where you'll come to do research on your topic, but it is where you can come to learn about how to do research and how to engage in different types of research, how to use different research methods. There's a wealth of content, a lot of different content types in SAGE research methods, so we're going to talk about those today. But that really is just an introduction to what this platform does and how it can really be used to support you as you go through the research process. I do have a slide here. I wanted, again, like I said, just kind of have you all think about some of the challenges that you might encounter as you're going through the research process. So if there are specific things that you might struggle with or that you might be looking for support with, maybe you systematic reviews or collecting data or analyzing data, whatever it may be, we're just going to do a quick little word cloud activity. So you'll see a QR code here if you want to scan that to get to this Menti, or you can go to the website. You'll see the code there, 14593271. So I'm going to jump over to this Menti. And again, the question is, what challenges have you encountered or do you anticipate encountering as you engage in the research process or as you instruct on it or advise on it? So again, just to kind of get us thinking about some of the things that might we might encounter as we are going through the research process, some things that you might be looking for support with. So these should populate. Oh, there we go. As we get some responses, and there is no limit. So feel free to suggest a few things if there are a few things. We'll leave this up for a little bit and see some of these responses come in.
And Emily, a few of the responses have come through the Q&A,
Oh, perfect.
finding the appropriate articles, finding data for research, finding data again. So we're getting them in both places.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Yeah, so access to case studies. Very excited to show you Sage Research Methods for that. Deciding on methodology. Yeah, there's so many different methods. Some great support that in Sage Research Methods that I'll show you as well. Lack of support for stats, research design. And I am going to leave this Menti open. So as we go through the session, if you want to come back to it and add some things, this is also a great opportunity for us to kind of see what types of issues are researchers experiencing. Where are there things that we can make sure we are supporting you with as Sage Research Methods continues to grow? So we're always adding new content. We're always adding new collections. So this is great for us as well to hear kind of what researchers are really looking for when it comes to support. Confidentiality, lack of bibliometrics, triangulation. Yeah, this is great. Validity. Perfect. Yeah, student unfamiliarity. Potentially, I'm assuming you might mean like with the research process or with specific methods, just unfamiliarity with the process of research and with the methods they may use. Absolutely. And I'm going to show you what I think will be a great tool to help address that student unfamiliarity. All right, perfect. Well, thank you all so much. This is a great start. Like I said, I'm going to leave this Menti open. So as as we go, feel free to come back to this and add more content. It's going to remain up, but I'm going to go ahead and move over to your library's website. So this is where you can come to access Sage Research Methods. Sage Research Methods is a resource that has been provided to you through your library. So when you come to the website, library.osu.edu, you'll see here under recommended links, that first one is a research databases list. So I'm going to click on this. This is going to be a great way to get to all of the databases that your library provides you access to. And it's going to be a huge list. So there's a few things you can do. You can browse alphabetically by title. So I could click S and get to all of the resources that start with the letter S. Or very easily, I can search for Sage Research Methods. And if I click find, you'll see I come directly to a few entries. All three of these will get you to the Sage Research Methods platform. This first one, this will get you to the main landing page, which is where we're going to be starting today. This second one will take you to a landing page for video content in Sage Research Methods. We're also going to show you that today. And then this third one actually also leads to the main landing page right now. So I would say click on one or on three to get to the very sort of beginning of Sage Research Methods, or if you're really interested in exploring video content specifically, you can always get right to the videos using this one. I'm going to jump over to the Sage Research Methods landing page. So this is the home page. This is what you will get to if you click on that first link in the databases list. And I want to start just talking a little bit about what you're going to find on this homepage, what you're going to see, and the different types of content that you'll find as you explore Sage Research Methods. So you'll see when you come to the platform, you can search for content. This is a great way if you have a method that you might be looking to learn more about, if you have a specific word or phrase like triangulation, for example, or validity, you can search for that content. You'll see as I start to type, that the platform will suggest pieces of content where that word or phrase appears in the title of that piece of content. So again, if you're looking specifically for a word or phrase, this is a great way to get an idea of some of the different pieces of content available. You can click into these to get right to those. Or you'll also see sometimes it will suggest situations where that can also be a keyword search. So if you click this, you're going to go to a search results page, but it's going to be a very specific set of search results. It will have done a keyword search for you. Whereas if I type a word or phrase in and I click the magnifying glass or click enter, I'm going to do a full text search of all of Sage Research Methods. Anywhere the word triangulation appears in a piece of content, I'm going to get that back as a result. So that's going to be a very long list of results. We really recommend kind of exploring some of that content that you see pop up or doing a keyword search to get more specific. And then there are some ways to browse the content. So I want to talk a little bit about this. You'll see that we do offer these tiles that will take you to a specific type of content. So again, everything I'm going to show you today, you have access to at Ohio State. So you have all of our books and reference content. This is a collection of over 1,200 ebook and e-reference titles that cover a wide range of methods. So this is a great place to start if you're looking for books and reference content. Some of you might be familiar with, we call them the little green books and little blue books. These are series that we publish on qualitative and quantitative research methods. If you've taken a research methods class or you teach a research methods class, you might be familiar with these. These are really great titles on a wide variety of methods. And Sage Research Methods, this platform is the only place that you can get those books in digital format. So know that you have access to all of these under the books and reference tile. Someone mentioned case studies in that Menti, so I'm very happy to tell you, you have thousands of case studies within Sage Research Methods. And what these case studies are, they are real research studies that have been conducted. The researcher has then written a case study exploring how they went through the research process. So they provide really helpful, a really helpful look, a really great inspiration to researchers who might be going through similar types of research. So we're going to look at a case study today. These are a really fantastic opportunity for researchers to learn from researchers who have gone before them, for them to see what the research process looks like in action, as well as to get some tips and tricks and learn about the lessons that these researchers have learned as they've gone through the research process. So you'll see thousands of case studies in Sage Research Methods. You also have access to hundreds of real data sets that can be used to practice data analysis. So if you are in the process of learning how to do a particular type of data analysis, if you maybe haven't collected your own data yet, but you want to practice doing a certain type of analysis, you can come in here, look at these data sets. You'll see we offer both quantitative and qualitative data sets. With these all come a teaching guide, as well as a step-by-step student guide that will walk you through how to analyze that particular type of data. So these are a great opportunity if you are a researcher and you are wanting to learn and practice data analysis. You can come in here, find the data, you can download it, you'll get that student guide that will walk you through the process. And then depending on the data set, many of them also come with software guides. So particularly the quantitative data sets come with software guides for R, Python, Stata, and SPSS. So depending on the data set, you'll see those software guides as well. So again, great opportunity. And if you are an instructor or a faculty member and you're wanting to teach students data analysis, this is a great way, save you a lot of time. You can come in here, find the data. Again, you can download it. You can embed it into your learning management system, give students access to that student guide, and it will walk them through every step of the process. So really great option for practicing data analysis. All right. You also have a small selection of podcasts in the platform, as well as thousands of videos. So we are going to look at a video, but just know that, again, with all of these, as you click into these landing pages, you'll see the option to search that content type directly. You'll see different browse options. So with video, you can browse by method. So again, if you're looking for content on a particular method, you can get right to it using these method browse options. We also offer different video types. So if you're really looking for a tutorial, how to do something, you can get to those types of videos very quickly and easily. And then this is just a great way to see all of the different video collections that you have. So you have all of these. There's video that covers a wide variety of topics when we're thinking about the research process. So practical research and academic skills is a great video collection that really looks at some of those key skills that researchers need in order to be successful with the research process. Research Ethics and Integrity is a wonderful collection, hundreds of videos that explore all kinds of different aspects when it comes to doing ethical research. And then Qualitative and Mixed Methods and Quantitative and Mixed Methods. These are two of our newest collections. Between these two collections alone, there's nearly 1,000 videos. And these are great, again, really broad collections looking at a lot of different aspects of doing quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods research. All right, and then I'm just going to scroll down a little bit further because there's still more. There's so much content here. These tiles will take you to different collections within Sage Research Methods that really hone in on a particular aspect of research. So these are going to look at things like how to do research in business and management, for example. Within this tile, you're going to see a lot of different types of content, all really looking at doing research in business. Similarly, with medicine and health, if you are if you are studying medicine or public health, this is a great collection. There's actually two collections here. There's a video collection and case studies that look at doing research in medicine and health. Doing research online, similarly, lots of different types of content, all looking at how to do impactful research online. And this is a collection that is a really perfect example of the fact that what we hear from researchers about the needs that you have, that's how we determine upcoming collections in Sage Research Methods. So when the pandemic happened in 2020, we were hearing from librarians and faculty and instructors and researchers that all of a sudden, they were having to pivot and change their research approach and having to do research online because they couldn't do in-person interviews or do in-person surveys. Or do in-person focus groups. So this is a collection of content really to help researchers with doing the research process, engaging in the research process using only online methods and online sources. All right, and a little bit further down, the last section here is those research methods tools that I mentioned. So we're actually going to start today in this tool, the methods map. We're going to go there shortly. And we are also going to talk about the project planner today. So these are two tools that are really helpful not only for researchers, but also, again, if you are instructing on the research process, if you maybe are a graduate teaching assistant and you're working with students for the first time, or again, if you are a librarian and you're wanting to assist or advise a student on the research process, these are really great places to start. So we're going to start with those two. But before I do that, I want to mention one last thing. You'll notice one of the tools is reading lists. Reading lists are something that you can create if you have a profile in Sage Research Methods. So you'll notice my name up here. That's because I'm signed in to my profile. Now, a profile is not a requirement to access the content in Sage Research Methods. You don't have to have a profile in order to get into any of the content we're going to use today. But you do need a profile if you want to do things like create custom lists of content, which you can save, you can share with someone, you can get citations for everything in a list. You also need a profile if you want to be able to download videos to play them offline, or if you want to embed video content. So there's a few benefits for having a profile. So if you don't have one yet, you can click that little box. All you have to put in is your name, your email address, your institution, and a password. So it's very simple, but it's a great kind of thing to have. You get, access to some additional features. And I'll show you an example of a reading list in a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and click into the methods map. And this is a really great place, again, if you are new to Sage Research Methods, if you are new to the concept of research methods, the methods map can be a really great place to start because what it does is it provides a visual overview, kind of a visual understanding of how methods relate to one another, how the different stages of the research process relate to one another. It gives you definitions to concepts and terms, and it also gives you direct links to search results. So when you come into the methods map, you'll see we have research methods in this green center circle. And then we see all of these terms that fall under the concept of research methods. So things like planning research, research design, data collection, data analysis, um, uh, data science, all of these kind of terms that fall under the concept of research methods. So for example, someone mentioned research design in the Menti. So I can click on that. What will happen is it will become the green center circle. That means I get a definition for what that term means and a link to see all content in Sage Research Methods on research design. So this is a really great way, again, to get directly to content, but also then to see other terms that fall under that. So research design is a really big sort of umbrella term, and all of these down here under narrower terms are examples of different types of research design. So we can explore this. It gives us a really good sense of all of the different types of research design. We can get into any of these to, again, get a new definition, get a new link to content. For example, here we are in survey research. We also see, though, we can continue to get more narrow. So all of these are different types of survey research. So online surveys, public opinion research, learning how to do do questionnaire design, learning about cross-sectional surveys, intercept surveys, and so on. So again, we can use this to get information about what these terms all mean, see how they're all connected, and get to content on them. So I'm going to go back a little bit broader again. You'll also see you can search the methods map. So if there is a term or a word or a phrase that you are specifically looking for, maybe you need a definition, or you're really wanting to find content on meta-analysis, you can put a term in there. It will take you right to that point in the methods map. The great thing about this is you get that definition and the link to content, but it also then shows you where that term falls sort of in the research process as it relates to methods, and you can see additional, more narrow terms that fall under that. We also have related terms. So these are going to be, again, connected or related, but maybe not specifically more narrow or more broad than the term itself. All right, Lee, any questions that we should address at this point, or are we good to continue?
We are good to continue.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let's do this one. We're going to go ahead and click to see all content on secondary data analysis. And so what this will do when I click on a search results link from the methods map, what it's going to do is it's going to bring me to a search results page. You'll see I still have that definition from the methods map. I can always get back to the methods map very easily from here. And then I see all of the results. So when you do a search from the methods map, you are filtering by method. So this is going to be a much smaller search results page than if you did a full text search. So we have 138 results for secondary data analysis. You'll see we have some options for how we can sort our search results page, whether that be by alphabetical, most recent, most popular. And then we also have filters over here on the left-hand side of the page. So this is a great way to get directly into a specific type of content. So if you're really looking for a case study, for example, we could filter to just the case studies. Once you make a selection, you just need to click Apply Filter to make that change. You'll also see filters by publication date. You can search the results and so on. But I'm actually going to go into a video to begin. And you'll see here on my search results, I have information about the content. So I see what type of content it is. I see the title. I get some information about the video, an abstract. I can see the full table of contents. And you'll also notice that this video is part of a series. So I have one video here on how to find data for secondary data analysis, about why to use secondary data, but I can also click to get to the entire series of videos as well if I want to see what else might be in that series. So you'll see here now we have 5 results, 5 videos in this series. We get more information about videos kind of in general, and then we see all of the videos in this series. So again, this can be a nice way to get to kind of see content in, get more specific from our search results page, but see content in series as well. So let's go ahead and click into a video about finding your secondary data. So I wanted to talk about the video content just briefly because what you'll see here on my screen, you're going to see in every single video. So all of the videos have transcripts. You'll notice that I have auto scroll turned on, which means that the video will, the text in the transcript will be highlighted as the video plays. I can follow along. I can search the transcript if I'm looking for something specific. Once I click play on the video, you'll see that I can see how long it is. This video is about 5 minutes long. I can turn on closed captioning in every single video, increase and decrease the playback rate of the video. I can go full screen. I can pop out into another window and so on. So all of that is there in the video player itself. You'll also see quick keys here under every video. And then you'll notice this option here. It says create clip. So this is an option that's available if you have that profile that I mentioned. So this is one of those sort of extra benefits that come with a profile. What this will allow you to do is create a specific clip, any length you'd like of a video. This is an especially useful feature if you are wanting to embed a video into a course you're teaching, or you're wanting to share it maybe with a group of students you're collaborating with on a research project. Maybe you don't need them to watch the entire 5 minutes, but there's a really specific 1-minute clip in that video that you want them to see. You can create that clip. You'll save it to your profile, and then you can always come back to it anytime. You'll get that direct link to the clip that you can share. And then you'll also notice these icons as we go through every different piece of content, every type of content. So you can always get a link to content. You'll see you can get links to the entire work, or for longer videos, you can get links to specific sections of videos. You can get links to specific chapters of books that you can embed, or excuse me, you can post in a learning management system or share with someone. You'll see we have citations for every single piece of content in 5 major styles. So you can change the style, copy that to a clipboard, or export that to a citation manager. You'll also see you can share content. So if you want to send a link to someone, you can do that via this share icon here. Again, if you are instructing and you want to embed content into a learning management system, you can do that with the embed code. And then you'll also see the ability to download PDFs as we go through all of the content. Please know that the PDF option is intended for you to use for yourself. So the intent here is not that you download a PDF and then share that with someone. In this case, this is going to be a PDF of the transcript. So if you're wanting to share this video with a classmate or with a research partner, or with a group of students that you're working with, we really recommend using the link or using the share or embedding the content, because that will allow your library to see that you all are using this content. And that's really important for the library as they're considering new content to add and things to continue with. So the PDF is great for you to use for yourself. So if you want to download the transcript to be able to highlight it or print it or whatever it may be, that's great. But if you are going to share content, please use the link, the share, or the embed option.
Emily, we do have a question that I was going to pose. It's from Yasser, who says, what are the other similar platforms available and how the Sage Research Method platform is different from others? And I think, and I want to make sure I understand the question, which is, are you asking other platforms that Sage offers, or are you asking for other platforms in general that may be out there around research methods? Others in general is his answer.
Okay, so yeah, that would be a question for your librarians. So Lee and I, we are experts in Sage. So we know a lot about Sage resources. Just really, that is actually a great question. And I know this was not your question, but just know that these links along the very top of the page, these are links to other Sage resources that you do have at Ohio State. So if you're interested, if any of these are kind of piquing your interest and you're interested in exploring these, you do have access to all of this content, everything you see along this blue navigation bar. I unfortunately, we cannot speak to other resources at Ohio State that might be similar or different, or might also support you in the research process. But that is a really great question for your librarians. They could certainly answer that question and offer you some suggestions and some tips. But if you have questions about any of these, feel free to let us know. Obviously, we won't address it in this session, but we're always happy to provide more information after this about any other Sage Learning resources. All right, so that was a video, and again, kind of in an introduction to the methods map, I do want to highlight another research tool in the platform. So we're going to go to that next. You'll see here at the top of the page, I have this drop-down tools icon, and I can use this anywhere in the platform at any time to get to one of the tools. So we're going to go ahead and move over to the project planner next. And again, this is another tool in the platform that can be really helpful, honestly, for all researchers, as well as for anyone who is, again, teaching the research process or working with students on the research process. So what the project planner does is it provides a step-by-step guide through the research process, and it answers a lot of questions that researchers typically have as they go through each of these stages of the process. So there's a few different ways that we know researchers use the project planner. Some researchers will really use this as a guide as they go through the process from beginning to end. So when they are in that very beginning stage of choosing and defining their topic, you can come in here, you'll see as you click into a stage, every single stage will begin with an introduction that explains what this stage of the project planner is going to help you do. And then you'll see these expandable boxes that ask those really common questions about that particular stage of the process. So how do I identify a good research topic? What are some practical things that I should think about before I start my research? And then you'll also see these checklists throughout the project planner. So as you expand these boxes, it will give you an answer to that question. So how do I identify a good research topic? This is saying, there are 5 key things to think about when you are in that beginning stage of choosing a topic. You'll also see links throughout the project planner. Most of these links will take you to the methods map. So if you want to see a definition of a term or see a link to get to content on a term, this is a great way to get back to that methods map, get a definition for literature search, and see all content. You'll also see, like I said, checklists. So these are just really practical questions for you to ask yourself as a researcher, or again, if you are working with researchers, for you to ask them as they're going through the different stages of the research process. So we know sometimes, especially with researchers who are new to the process, they may not think of all of these questions as they're going, and they may get a little farther down the path, into the research process and realize they don't actually have the resources they need to do this particular type of research, or they don't actually have enough time to do the research, or they don't they're not interested enough to really engage with the process. So these are just some really helpful questions that researchers can ask themselves, or that instructors can ask of their researchers as they're going through the process. But you'll see that, again, the project planner really addresses every stage of the process. So another thing that we know happens is that researchers might not use this for every single step of the process, but they may come in at a specific point. So maybe they're having to get ethical approval for the first time. They've done research a lot of times, but they've never had to go to an institutional review board or get ethical approval. So they can come in at a particular stage and find a lot of information for that stage that they're at to support them. So here in the research ethics section, you'll see information about confidentiality, about getting ethical approval, about informed consent, bias, and so on. So again, really helpful for whatever stage you might be at, for whatever kind of support you might need. This will give you some really practical suggestions for things to consider, as well as, again, links to content within the platform. The data analysis and interpretation section is another great one. It's a pretty lengthy one that looks at a lot of different types of data analysis. So again, these are short entries. These are not, incredibly long. This isn't where you're going to find out everything you need to know about thematic analysis, for example. But it can be a good starting point. It gives you a good, gives you some good options to get to content through the methods map. It gives you sometimes search results lists. So again, this can be a good place to start when you are going through the research process, and it helps you get into content in the platform that's going to go more in depth, do a bit of a deeper dive into these different topics and aspects of the research process. You'll also see all of those icons we talked about when we were in the video. You can also use all of those same tools here in the project planner. So you can get a link to an entire stage, or you'll see, again, you can do that for each individual entry as well. So if you're wanting to share this with someone you're working with, you can also get a permalink to this. You can get citations for the the project planner. And then another thing that you'll notice here, you'll see that this says it's been added to a list. That means I have added this stage of the project planner to a reading list that I have in my profile. So you can always add content to lists to come back to another time once you have that profile created. So again, another great reason to have a profile. All right. I wanted to show you a couple other pieces of content here. Just a minute, let me make this box disappear. There we go. So I did want to show you a case study. And I have one open. This is actually a brand new one that was just published earlier this year, so just in January. And I had this open, and I'm glad someone mentioned case studies. I really think that case studies can be a great tool, not only for instructors, but also for researchers. So if you're going through the research process, this is such a great way to learn from researchers who have done a similar type of research. So this is a great case study that looks at a longitudinal approach to collecting data. And it also talks about online surveys. So you'll see all of the case studies start with an abstract and learning outcomes. So this is a great way to learn about what this research was actually meant to look at and what you as a researcher might learn from this case study. So this was about a research project that looked at the effects of playing Pokemon Go over the course of 7 weeks. They took 3 semesters to collect data from undergraduate students. And they were looking at whether having the mindset that playing Pokemon Go had beneficial effects to one's social connectedness, well-being, and information processing. So you'll see here, it says, in this case study, we provide recommendations for how to design such a longitudinal study in light of the obstacles. So again, if you are thinking about, developing a longitudinal design, this would be a great example of a case study to support you. There are case studies that really cover all of the methods, all of the different types of research design that are out there. So again, great way to learn from other researchers. But you'll see learning outcomes in the case studies. So you'll, again, get a great sense of what is going to be covered. Another thing they talk about in this case study is the challenge of missing data. So again, if you are going through the process and you are experiencing this, you can learn from these researchers and kind of what they experienced in relation to that as well. So over here on this page, you'll see all of the different sections of the content. So again, with case studies, you get information about the overview of the project, the context, the research design, the practicalities, what the research looked like in action, and then one of my favorite sections of these are the practical lessons learned sections. So this is where the researcher has the opportunity, because they finished this research, they can really talk about what they learned, what they would recommend future researchers do to maybe avoid some of the issues that they encountered, some of the problems they had with missing data, for example. So it's a really great way to get a sense of what other researchers have gone through and hopefully avoid some of the pitfalls that they maybe experienced. So you'll see that section in the case studies. And then some case studies, it does depend on the collection. Some of them have discussion questions, as well as built-in multiple choice quiz questions. So you can do these right within the platform. You can answer the questions and get your results right away. And I'm just guessing, so fingers crossed. Oh, I got one right. So it will tell you immediately. You'll get that feedback about whether or not your answer was correct or incorrect. So good kind of self-check on the content in the case. And then further reading, references, and so on. So that is a case study. Again, there are thousands of them across this platform, so you can really find case studies for all of the different methods, for all of the different research approaches. I did want to highlight one additional content type, and then we're just about wrapped up. So I do want to leave time for questions, but I did want to go into a how-to guide. There are how-to guides in some of the collections. We have them in this is the landing page for doing research online, which is that collection I mentioned that we launched in 2022 as a result of feedback on having to do that pivot and doing online research. So this is a collection that has some how-to guides in it. You'll also see how-to guides in the business collection and the diversifying and decolonizing research collection. So these are just really helpful guides in doing different aspects of research methods. So I have one open here. So this is, again, also new. This just launched in February. This how-to guide was just published in February. But this is a great guide in the Doing Research Online collection about how to conduct a meta-analysis while reducing bias. So they talk here in the abstract about how they provide within this how-to guide an overview of potential sources of bias and meta-analysis, things like publication bias, selection bias, reporting bias, methodological bias. And then they talk about just addressing different bias conclusions from data analysis as well. So you'll see here, again, similar look and feel. This is a how-to guide, but it also has the abstract, the learning outcomes. We see all of the sections of the how-to guide. So again, very easy to get a sense of what it covers, but also very easy to jump to a particular section. So if you're wanting to think or look specifically at biases in literature searches, you could jump right to that section and get to that information. So again, there are hundreds of how-to guides across those few collections. So just know that you have access to all of them. They can be a really great, not only teaching tool, but also a guide for researchers to use themselves as they are going through the research process. All right, I do have my profile open. We'll just try clicking on it from here. So you'll see when you click on your profile, you can click to see all of your lists in your profile. And I have a lot of lists. I use this feature all the time. So you'll see that with the lists, you can create them for lots of different purposes. So if you are a researcher, this is a great way to find content and save it to your profile to come back to next time, to come back to if you want to look at it again, if you're wanting to put together some content to share with a collaborator that you might be working with. This is a great way to do that. Once you've created a list, here's one, for example, I just created recently on systematic and scoping reviews. You'll see that I can embed this list into a learning management system. I can share it with someone. I can get citations for everything in a list at once. And I can also always, of course, edit it. You'll also see this feature that allows you to make a reading list public. What that will do is then allow you to share that with others. So if you don't want anyone to see it, if you're just making a list for yourself, for your own purposes, you can make it private. But if you are wanting to share the list with anyone or make it accessible through the public reading lists, which you'll see here, you can see all the public reading lists at the top of the page, you would want to make that list public. So this is an example of, this is a different one actually, a different list on systematic reviews and meta-analysis that I created late last year. But you'll see the reading lists are great because you can put in a lot of different types of content. So I have case studies in here. I have book content in here. I have video content. I have practice data sets, foundations, which are great introductions to different concepts and research methods. So it's a great way to put content together, again, to share with others, for yourselves, whatever it may be, but again, a feature of having a profile, and a nice way to save content instead of having to keep coming in and searching for it. So that is the reading list. And I think we're going to go ahead and stop here for questions. I did have, actually, no, I'll show you one more thing and then we'll stop for questions. The last thing I wanted to mention, oh, not what I wanted to do. The last thing I wanted to mention was an additional resource that is available to you. So just know that when you are in Sage Research Methods, anywhere in the platform, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll see a lot of information. There is information about accessibility. There's information for different user groups. So if you are a faculty member, there's information here for you. You'll also see, even if you're not a librarian, you can click on that. You'll see some content and some support resources, title lists, and things like that there. But then there's also a link down here to what we call our Sage Research Methods community. And this is an open online community. This is accessible to anyone. So you don't have to have Sage Research Methods to access or use the community. This is an opportunity for researchers and scholars and students to really share experiences around the research process, to think about and solve problems, when it comes to doing research. This is something that we at Sage manage, but again, it's freely accessible. It's open content. It's available to anyone, regardless of whether or not you have access to Sage Research Methods. So just a really nice place to kind of hear from and learn from other researchers. You'll see there's great ways to get, you can kind of subscribe to the news. You can get things in your inbox. There's great posts here. You'll see it's updated frequently. So here's a post from yesterday. There's a lot of links to webinars that we do. So here's a webinar that's actually coming up tomorrow on how to do research and get published. A really great series that we host. So if you are thinking about getting published and you want to learn more, this is a great option. You'll see blog posts. You'll see links to videos and events, our newsletter. You can also explore opportunities for grants, different research tools, and so on. So there's a lot here. I also like this quick links here because it does organize content by, again, different stage of the research process. So if you are a researcher and you're really interested in learning more about data analysis, for example, you can come in and find content in the community from other researchers who have posted things or shared things, again, webinars and so on that particular stage of the process. So just know this is here. And also, there is an opportunity to get involved. So if you're interested in sharing your own experiences, talking about the research process yourself, please know that we always are happy to hear from researchers, from faculty, really from anyone who's interested in sharing their experiences and becoming part of the community. So that is it. Now I'm done. And I'm happy to answer some of these questions. Let's see what we have. Oh, okay. I think yes, so I think we answered.
We did.
Most of these, yeah? Perfect. Are there any other questions? And it's okay if not. I am going to be sending a follow-up to that will be disseminated to everyone, that will include some links to support resources, a great link to a quick start guide that we have. That's a great kind of getting started guide for using Sage Research Methods. I'll link to the research methods community. I'll provide the follow-up on our Menti results. So more to come from me. It will also include my and Lee's contact details, but I am going to go really quickly back to our PowerPoint, and excuse me for, there we go, getting to our contact details there. So please feel free to reach out to Lee or myself if you have any questions. We will always come back to the library. So if you have any questions, feel free to let us know, and we will loop the library into any follow-up that we do, so they're aware of the interest and the questions, and so you all will know who to connect to in your library. But we are here to answer questions about SAGE research methods, or like I said, any of the other SAGE learning resources. Ohio State does have access to all of our learning resources content. So there's a lot that we can support you with, a lot of questions we're happy to answer. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if there is anything, but otherwise, I think that might be good.